Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video, we are looking at HIMS and HERS health. It is time for another update. And finally on this stock, we could be looking at an actual opportunity today. I will warn you in the beginning, it's not going to be the usual type of setups we are commonly tracking, but the momentum, the pattern that I see building within the very small time frame is actually the type of structure we notice before potentially quite strong breakouts. It's not going to provide the same degree of probabilities, but it has got my interest and I'm tracking it very closely. Now, let's provide some context for this chart because we actually have a few options, not just what we see here on the screen, but for the sake of simplicity, it is possible to track this as a 1-2 setup. Right now, I could be looking for a wave 3 to be already in formation, but it would have to build only a 3-wave pattern within such a structure. Then other interpretations could imply that this would still be the same leading diagonal we have been tracking all along, where I would have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. I have already shared the issues that I see within this interpretation, the main idea being that this move up looks a lot better like a 5-wave pattern than a 3-wave pattern in my opinion. And of course there is a scenario where this would actually be still a wave 3, but only the wave A of the large wave 3. I could see counts, I could see people that would track this as a series of 1-2 setups instead, also a valid interpretation. And ultimately what I'm actually getting to is that I do not really care which of these outcomes will play out in the case of a successful breakout. In the smaller time frame, I have more than enough data to track what is of interest to me, and regardless of what the next wave up will end up being, whether it will be a wave 3 within an impulse, whether it will be just a wave 5. I am looking to position now, and I actually do not need to get out of the position until the structure starts breaking relevant levels of support. Now, if you remember, I actually have a small issue with the internal structure here, more specifically with the correction that has taken place, and my issue is that I have to prefer for it to actually form one additional low, at least from this time frame perspective, simply because the move down seems incomplete, and it would actually require one additional low to have the count full. And this is not me saying that it cannot see a breakout. I will be tracking this scenario for as long as possible. I will be looking for the resistance levels that would still imply that we would see lower prices. But if they get broken, a bottom cannot be denied. And ultimately the market will decide whether we will get or not that one additional low. So the resistance levels I am tracking are up to $36 here. If we get a sustained break above that, a very good indication that a more substantial bottom would be in. Now, in the smaller time frame, I actually have a few options of how I could be interpreting this move up. And I'm looking at this to either be a series of 1-2 setups, and even here another 1-2, or for it to have actually built just the double 1-2 setup, where right now we would be basically at the very early stages of a very strong wave 3 to the upside. This is the main interpretation I am tracking, and within both of these scenarios, I actually want to see the current lows at $26.6 hold. So in my main interpretation, I actually want to see the momentum increase. I want to see a 1-2 setup to be in formation here. I want to be looking for the wave 2 correction at the levels between $29.8 down to $27.6, where already, if we get a sustained break below the 78.6% retracement I have here in white, it would be an early warning that a more substantial top would actually be in, that we will not see this idea of a 1-2 setup succeed in forming, that we will not see the next wave 3 to the upside form based on this structure. And this is the main scenario I am tracking, the main opportunity I am considering for this setup. But there is actually another case, because I could consider that this move up would have only just formed a more substantial top within the wave 1 now, and it would imply that we would get a larger wave 2 correction before having the actual breakout. So in this interpretation, in this scenario, I have to allow a significantly deeper area of support. And while I do not prefer this scenario for a few key reasons, it is technically a possibility. It is one of the outcomes we can consider, and realistically, only after I get a sustained break below the $23.5 level do I actually get the even stronger confirmation that this orange wave 4 would have had a more substantial top. And even then, there are backup scenarios that could still allow a more substantial bottom to be in, that could still allow a setup, but for the time being, that would also imply that we need to allow a significantly larger retracement, very likely heading to a break even below $21.6, the beginning of this entire movement to the upside. Now, why do I prefer the white interpretation? Well, for the most part, it is the momentum. If we are to consider the yellow interpretation, this would have been the wave C of a wave 5 of a leading diagonal in a wave 1. It is not impossible to get the strongest move in this wave within such a structure, but it does make you wonder, doesn't it? So, in reality, I would probably prefer, if this stock is to see the breakout, that we actually form this as an internal 1-2 setup, that we actually see the wave 3 form a more substantial breakout. Now, in the smaller time frame here, we actually do not have too much data. Technically, I do see it possible for this wave 1 to extend even higher, but I wouldn't really have such expectations. Primarily, I believe there is a very good chance the wave 1 would have already formed the top, where we are watching the levels between $30 down to $27.60. If we get a sustained break below the white area of support, automatically I will have to consider it more likely for the yellow interpretation to be taking charge. But one thing to notice, if I get a sharp move down, a sharp decline, I would probably expect this wave 2 in yellow to have not actually bottomed. Within such a structure, I would typically expect probably a larger correction, something like an A, B, C movement, instead of forming a more direct bottom. And one more thing before we actually end this video. In the white interpretation, I would probably prefer a significantly shallower retracement. Within the white scenario, I am tracking a series of 1-2 setups, and when you get into such a nest of 1-2 setups, you would typically expect for the wave 3 to have rather shallow retracements, where sometimes it doesn't actually even reach the first level of support within such a structure. I do not expect this to be the case here, but I believe that is something to keep in mind. And for now, we will stop here. If you want even more from me, you can check out the Patreon. But these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.